We're going to move to question time, and I call Senator Duniam.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. CPA Australia has publicly stated that the Prime Minister's capital gains tax changes could force Australians to obtain defensible market valuations for personal use assets, including valuable items held in people's homes, their garages and their sheds. Can the Minister confirm whether a vintage car, a classic car, a collectible vehicle or even a number plate worth more than $10,000 will need to be valued before the 1st of July 2027 under Labor's new capital gains tax regime?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Wong.
Thank you. Well, as the senator would know, we have replaced the 50% capital gains tax discount with a new discount based on real gains, so inflation for gains, with a new discount based on inflation for gains accruing from the 1st of July in 2027. Obviously, the transitional arrangement, that arrangement was clear in the budget papers. And
do you need to get it valued?
Order.
It is. I have to say, I'm not somebody. I don't mind that people are interested in vintage cars, but I have to say I'm not somebody who does collect vintage cars. Indeed. And what I would say is the taxation arrangement that the government has put in place, which will hopefully pass the Senate tomorrow, is one that is fair and equitable, and it applies across asset classes, and it is ensuring that income from assets is taxed in a way that has analogous to the way in which income on wages is taxed.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Senator Duniam, first supplementary.
Yes, President, thank you. If an Australian has restored a vintage car over many years, often without keeping every receipt for parts, for labour or improvements, what records will Mr Albanese require to prove the car's cost base and market value?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Wong.
Well, Senator, it isn't our practice to provide provide in Senate question time individual tax advice. The budget measures are clear. No, the budget measures are clear. From 1st of July 2027, we will have a different arrangement in relation to capital gains tax, which will reflect the real gain that an asset has had, and, if I may, it will reflect the real gain. Well, OK, if you don't want to hear an answer, that's fine. They're interrupting.
Senator Duniam, second supplementary.
No, I think
order.
that I don't think the Minister had the answer. So,
order on my right.
I'm here for a while.
Senator
Sorry
Duniam.
about that. Thank you, President. Yes, indeed. Well, look, is this another example of Labor's toxic tax complexity? Australians who saved, restored and cared for a classic car in their own garage now being forced to pay for accountants and valuers just to work out what Mr Albanese might take from them when they sell it.
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Wong.
Well, the Australians who are investing in vintage cars will also be the Australians who get new and permanent tax cuts as a consequence both of this package and tax cuts that will be in place from the 1st of July this year. If I may remind you, they are tax cuts that you voted against and proposed to vote against as a consequence of Senator High Taxes Hume and the policy she took to the election. We know that Australians, whether they are investing in vintage or non-vintage cars, will get the benefit of tax cuts that the Labor government is delivering. And I would just remind those opposite, you are gearing up to vote against the Working Australians tax offset. Yet again, the coalition, who is supposed to be the party of lower taxes, demonstrating that they are the party of higher taxes.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Minister. And, Minister, if you would just withdraw the additions to Senator Hume's name. Thank you.
I withdraw. Don't
Thank
worry.
you. Thank you. Senator Whittaker.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Women, Senator Gallagher. In one week's time,
Order.
In 1 week's time, our paid parental leave scheme will reach a full 26 weeks, the biggest expansion of the scheme in its history. Can the minister outline why the Albanese Labor government has prioritised investment in women's economic security, in particular in paid parental leave, since coming to government?
Great. Thank you, Senator Whittaker. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Whittaker for the question, and it's an important one around the increase to paid parental leave and the fact that in a week's time the paid parental leave scheme will reach a full 26 weeks of providing support to families and those caring for new children, new babies, whilst they are out of the workforce. From 1 July, eligible families will be able to access 26 weeks of PPL backed by the government. With Labor's changes, families receive almost $30,000 across their paid parental leave period, including super, which wasn't ever considered as, I think it's a final employment entitlement that didn't have superannuation paid on that. We have fixed that on this side of the chamber. Parents of more than 460,000 children have already benefited from our changes to PPL, and every single year those changes will benefit around 180,000 families. Our changes mean more time. Parents welcoming a new baby or adopting a child will have 6 months of PPL, giving families more precious time at home with their newest family member. More money. Parents accessing PPL from 1 July will receive more than double what they would have received before Labor came to government. Parents will be about $15,692 better off than when we came to government under our expanded scheme. There is more support for sharing care because we know the dads want to make sure that they are able to spend time with the children or the second parent, and they should be supported by the scheme's design. More people are eligible, with the annual income limits for paid parental leave also rising. PPL is a Labor legacy, and we are proud to build this and expand on it and deliver on it for Australian families.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Whittaker, first supplementary.
Paid parental leave is just one of the Albanese Labor government's policies to support women, from women's health to closing the gender pay gap and lifting wages in female-dominated industries. How are these reforms improving outcomes for women across Australia?
Thank you, Senator Whittaker. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Whittaker for that question too, because she is right that we have put driving gender equality and providing better support to women at the centre of government decision-making since coming to government. So it is about the programs in women's health, about closing the gender pay gap, which is now the lowest it's ever been, lifting wages, ensuring women are able to work if they choose to and not be penalised for taking on extra hours. We've done, of course, our paid family and domestic violence leave, our expansion of PPL, our super on PPL, in women's health, modern contraceptives, adding them on the PBS, the first time in over 30 years, modern menopause treatments coming through the PBS where no new options have been placed for the last 20 years. We've opened up our endometriosis and pelvic pain clinics around the country. They are open and being very well supported by women who need that kind of care, and we will continue to focus on making sure we are addressing gaps in how we support women across our economy.
Senator Whittaker, second supplementary.
Is the minister aware of any risks to these important social programs, and how can we continue to protect them?
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Whittaker for that question too, because it is important, and we know that while we can make gains, and we do make gains on this side of the chamber, we always look at ways we can better support women. We do know that that doesn't come without challenge or without threats to that, and we need to protect it. And just in the last little while, we have seen comments made about women that they're just having children to get these types of payments, that PPL will send small business broke, that if people bring children into the world, it's their responsibility, not the taxpayers. And we don't accept that on this side of the chamber. In just the last month, Senator Hanson said, why should business pay? Because they're not at work. That's the difference. That's why the gender pay gap is there, or the pay gap is there. That, again, is not correct analysis. And Shadow Treasurer Tim Wilson said, back in 2013, PPL to me is a very bad scheme and I make no ambiguity about it. This is not my choice that women have children, it's genetic.
Answering has expired. Senator Bragg. Order. Order.
I'm just waiting
Order. Senator Bragg has the right to have his question heard in silence.
Thanks.
Senator
I was just
Bragg.
waiting for the chamber to come to order. Thanks. Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Will the government expand its ban on super funds buying houses to APRA-regulated institutional and union-backed super funds?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Wong.
The terms of the agreement with the Australian Greens to pass a tax package, because I would make the point the Australian Greens are prepared to vote for a tax cut for working people, but the coalition is not. The coalition is not. The coalition is not. We have made clear that we would have agreed to support amendment to ban future borrowing arrangements by self-managed superannuation funds for residential property. I would. Well, the Prime Minister's been upfront about that. If you want to vote for a tax cut, let us know. One day you might vote for a. One day the coalition might actually vote for a tax cut. Do you know we've had 5 tax cuts that the Labor government's introduced that you have voted against?
Minister Wong.
You have voted against.
Minister Wong. Order. Order. I'm still waiting for order. Senator Bragg.
Point of order on relevance, President. The question was very clear about whether the proposed ban will apply to APRA-regulated institutional and union-backed super funds.
And Senator Bragg, you are absolutely right, but you could assist me by asking your colleagues not to intervene, because there was an intervention, and as you know, a minister is entitled to address the intervention. Minister Wong, please continue.
I made clear in my opening response, Senator Bragg, that these arrangements would apply to self-managed super funds in relation to residential property, and I would just say less than 10% of self-managed super funds have one of these arrangements. These will all be unaffected.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Bragg, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. Why is the government singling out families and individuals, again for punitive tax treatment, but leaving major institutions with a tax leg up?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Wong.
Well, Senator, I've been. You might, as someone who is interested in tax policy, be aware of a gentleman called David Murray, who did an inquiry in 2014. And that inquiry also raised concerns about the risk from these arrangements to retirement savings, as did the Council of Financial Regulators in 2019 and 2022. So I would make that point to you that if the Council of Financial Regulators and Mr Murray's report in 2014 have raised concerns about this, I'm surprised that you don't appraise yourself of the concerns that were raised when considering your position.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Bragg, second supplement.
I think it would aid the Senate if we could have the terms of the agreement tabled. But also, in asking this supplementary question, how does the government now defend its position that super funds and foreign investment funds should have significant tax benefits that are no longer available to individual Australians?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Wong.
Well, the Prime Minister has been upfront with the Australian people, held a press conference, so I'd invite you to read the transcript of that press conference. But if we want to talk about arrangements, perhaps we could ask Senator Hanson and Senator Cash to talk about the partnership between the coalition and One Nation that Senator Hanson speaks about, and that members of your party speak about.
Wong,
you want to be upfront about
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Bragg.
Point of order was on relevance, President. Whether the government can defend its position that institutions should have a preference over individuals.
And the minister was being relevant to your question. I do, but I also advise the chamber there was I would think, Senator Bragg, that when you stand up and ask me for a point of order, you would at least have the courtesy and the respect to not interject. I was going to remind the chamber that there were so many interjections I could barely hear Senator Wong. She began by being relevant, and then I could not hear what she was saying because of the loudness coming particularly from my left, but not only from my left, also from my right. So I will listen carefully, Senator Bragg, and if the minister isn't being relevant, I'll remind her to be relevant. Thank you, Senator Wong.
You see, Senator Bragg believes that the status quo on all fronts is working. And we can see that because he, along with his coalition colleagues, have consistently voted no to all changes in the superannuation area. And Senator Gallagher reminds me you voted against changes to superannuation. You proposed to vote against tax cuts. You don't want to listen to what Mr Murray said or the Council of Financial Regulators said because you just defend the status quo. That is what you think is the way forward. Well, we don't. We think change is necessary, and we look forward to the passage of legislation tomorrow,
Minister.
which will be good for Australians.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Faruqi.
Thank you, President. My question is to Minister Wong. Minister, a new independent UN report has found Israel consistently, directly and intentionally targeted individual children across Gaza. It documents the use of torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, including sexual and gender-based violence against Palestinian children. Children, Minister. Children used as target practice by Israeli soldiers. A 15-year-old killed carrying a white flag. A 10-year-old baby shot in the head while being breastfed. A 3-year-old shot dead in the arms of his father just last Sunday. More than 20,000 children dead. It is a wonder that you can look parents in the eye while Australia trades parts and weapons with the perpetrators of these horrors. Minister, why won't the Albanese government end the arms trade and impose comprehensive sanctions on Israel, just like we do against Russia?
Thank you, Senator Faruqi. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. No child should be targeted. Australia condemns the targeting of children. We have consistently done so. Through this conflict and through other conflicts, we take these reports very seriously. We have consistently advocated for the rights and protections of children, including as a long-standing member of the Group of Friends on Children and Armed Conflict. And later today, Australia will speak at the United Nations Security Council in relation to the rising violence against children in situations of armed conflict.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Faruqi, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. On one side, you have the United Nations, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch and a host of other expert organisations and scholars world over who have the courage to call this genocide what it is, genocide. On the other side, you have Trump, his far-right US government and its compliant allies like Australia's Labor government. Minister, why won't you admit that Israel is committing a genocide and call it for what it is? Call it a genocide.
Thank you, Senator Faruqi. Minister Wong.
Thank you. Firstly, in relation to the response, the question on the United Nations, I said in my primary answer, the UN Security Council will be discussing later today the rising violence against children in situations of armed conflict, and Australia will make a contribution in that debate. In relation, what I would also say is the Greens political party consistently seeks to misrepresent the government's position and actions. The government has spoken many times about Australia's view of what is happening and what has happened in Gaza and in the West Bank, and we have taken action, including the sanctioning of 2 senior ministers in the Netanyahu government for human rights abuses in coordination with the United Kingdom, Canada and other partners.
Order. Senator Faruqi, and no, I haven't called you to, and Senator Waters, in the same way that Senator Faruqi asked her question with complete silence by the chamber, that same courtesy and respect will be shown to the minister. Senator Faruqi, second supplementary.
Minister, your government has continued trading arms with the genocidal Israeli regime. You've refused to sanction the perpetrators responsible for the deaths of more than 20,000 children. What absurd horrors are next? Can we expect to see you supporting One Nation and its owner Gina Rinehart's suggestion to gift Israel chunks of Queensland to build these kid-killing weapons?
Thank you, Senator Faruqi. Minister Wong.
Well, I remember Pauline Hanson saying this country was in danger of being swamped by Asians, and I will never support One Nation.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Senator Stewart.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. The Albanese Labor government understands that Australians are doing it tough right now with the rising cost of living pressures. The government is doing its part by advocating for wage rises, providing tax cuts for every worker and ensuring that workplace conditions are improved. How is the government's position on boosting wages helping workers in industries like the health sector get more in their pay packet?
Senator Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks Senator Stewart, who, along with every other Labor senator, has a proud record of standing up for working people in Australia. The Albanese Labor government is helping Australians to earn more and keep more of what they earn, with higher wages and more tax cuts. Before the outbreak of the conflict in the Middle East, we saw strong real wage growth for 8 consecutive quarters, and we know that enterprise agreements continue to be a key source of wages growth for Australian workers, which is why our efforts to reinvigorate bargaining are so important. For 2 years in a row now, our government has strongly advocated to the Independent Fair Work Commission for an economically sustainable real wage rise for Australians' minimum and award wage workers, many of whom work in the health and aged care sectors. The recent decision by the Commission to increase the national minimum wage and modern awards by at least 4.75% will deliver a real wage increase from the 1st of July for almost 2.7 million Australian workers around the country. This is, of course, in stark contrast to the previous Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison coalition governments, who for a decade had a policy of deliberately keeping wages low. Only the Albanese Labor government is committed to increasing the pay packets of working Australians. An article on news.com this morning quoted new analysis which looked into how much better off workers in the health sector are under our government. And that analysis found that allied health worker wages have risen by between $8,000 and $13,000 per year as a result of Labor's wage rises, including for workers such as physiotherapists and radiographers. A further $1,200 per year had come to those workers from Labor's reforms allowing multi-employer bargaining, while gender-based undervaluation changes could account for up to an additional $20,000 per year for some classifications. For aged care workers, it's a similar story. Changes to bargaining were estimated to have accounted for an additional $600, wage theft reforms a further $1,840, and gender-based undervaluation an additional $10,000.
Senator Stewart, first supplementary.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Minister. Our hard-working health workers are on the front line of providing quality care for our kids, for our grandparents and for other loved ones who are sick. Minister, why is it important that governments ensure that these workers are earning more and keeping more of what they earn?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Watt.
Thanks, Senator Stewart. Well, whether it's wages rises or tax cuts, the Albanese government is doing everything we can to help working Australians. But we see today reports in the Daily Telegraph that One Nation wants to form a new partnership with the Liberal Party that would risk all of that. Now, this isn't a surprise to those of us who've seen One Nation and the Liberals vote together for years now to cut wages, but it would be a surprise to many aged care and health workers. The analysis in news.com estimated that under One Nation, an allied health worker would be between up to $34,000 worse off per year. For aged care workers, they would be up to $20,000 worse off under One Nation's plans. So Senator Hanson has already set out a plan to wind back Australia's workplace laws, to cut workers' wages and make it easier to sack workers. And under their partnership with the Liberal Party, they certainly have a willing partner in the Liberals. Only Labor, only the Albanese Labor government is delivering the real change that Australians need.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Stewart, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. With an ageing population, not just retaining workers, but attracting more workers to the healthcare sector is vital to keep pace with the demands that are growing in the community. What are some of the ways governments can encourage more workers into this really important industry?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Watt.
Thank you, President. Well, to ensure that our country can meet the challenges and demands of the future, we need to make sure that the health sector has enough skilled workers to meet those demands. We're backing those workers with wage rises and tax cuts. But of course the One Nation and Liberal partnership want to dig into their pockets and rip thousands of dollars out. It really is hard to know what the point of the Liberal Party is anymore. Who are you? What do you stand for? You've got a leader in Angus Taylor who's being directed by his mentor Tony Abbott to pander to the hard right, a leader in Angus Taylor who doesn't know whether he's for a monoculture or a multiculture. You've got a leader in waiting in Andrew Hastie who says he won't bend the knee to One Nation. You've got senators like Senator Antic who are already wearing their One Nation orange ties before they jump ship. But then you've got others like Senator Scarr who celebrate multiculturalism. The One Nation Liberal partnership won't help Australians. The One Nation Liberal partnership just means more cuts, more chaos and more division.
Thank you, Senator Watt. And Senator Watt, I remind you to refer to those in the other place by their correct titles. Senator Thorpe.
Thank you. My question is for the Minister for Indigenous Australians. Over a dozen Aboriginal families in Mount Isa are facing homelessness after the local council decided to auction off their homes because their Aboriginal housing provider failed to pay council rates. Desperately needed Aboriginal housing will be permanently lost to private buyers, and many of these families fear they will become homeless. What emergency action are you taking to ensure these families stay in their homes and these properties are retained for Aboriginal housing? Is there emergency funding coming?
Thank you, Senator Thorpe. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Thorpe, for the question. It is a real concern what's happening in Mount Isa, and I have reached out directly to the Queensland Government, speaking both with the Minister for Local Government. Also, the Mayor for Mount Isa Council has been in touch with us as well. We are working on this on a number of levels, Senator Thorpe. Obviously, looking at the opportunities that the Indigenous Business Australia can do to assist some of the families who want assistance with it. In terms of those who are unable to use IBA, we're also looking at the opportunity and the conversations that I'm having with the Queensland Government and the Queensland Council in terms of the debt itself.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Thorpe, first supplementary.
Thank you. Families have been raising concerns about this housing provider for years, and the issues have been on Oryx's radar for years now too. When were you first briefed on this situation, and when did the NIA first engage with the tenants? We've heard that there were a few pamphlets circulated by NIA, but nothing else.
Thank you, Senator Thorpe. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Senator Thorpe. I'd have to get the date for you in terms of when I was first briefed, but I have been aware of the issue for at least a month, Senator Thorpe, to try and get on top of it, to actually find out what we can do. And I am very concerned in terms of the timeline that is left for the council to use the option of selling the properties. I want to know that the families have choices and that the families are very much involved. So I have asked the agency to make sure it is working with the families, but I also want to be reassured that the council itself, in terms of Mount Isa Council, and that the Queensland Government is working with me to ensure that we do not have added homelessness here in Mount Isa.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Thorpe, second supplementary.
Queensland says Aboriginal housing is the Commonwealth's responsibility. Your government says it's Queensland's. The usual handballing while our people pay the price. You're the Federal Indigenous Minister. Will you guarantee none of these Aboriginal families will lose their homes?
Thank you, Senator Thorpe. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, I think most Australians would also question the relationships between jurisdictions and the Commonwealth, but I would say to the families in Mount Isa that I am very concerned about your situation, and yes, I am working with the Queensland Government and the Mount Isa Council, and I want to reassure the families that it's important that you are not left homeless in this whole situation.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Canavan.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Last year, the Prime Minister on the election trail promised not to raise taxes on superannuation. When he was asked about whether he would increase taxes on superannuation, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "There are no policy changes. Our policy stands. There is nothing unusual." But yesterday, the PM and the Labor Party did a deal with the Greens to raise taxes on self-managed super funds. How can the Australian people, Minister, have any trust in their government or the tax system if the government constantly breaks its promises not to increase taxes on small business, on investments, on property and now on superannuation too?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Wong.
Yeah, with respect, Senator Canavan, the changes are in relation to borrowing arrangements. And the logic, well, the borrowing arrangements are not. Well, I'm just making the point that in fact, I think the reason that there was concern raised by the Council of Financial Regulators and the Murray Financial System Inquiry was the effect or the potential risk of these arrangements to retirement savings. But I'm very happy to talk about tax, Senator, because I would make the point that at the last election, you went to the election advocating $75 billion more in higher personal taxes, $14 billion in higher taxes on the resources and manufacturing sectors, that's the abolition of the production tax credits, higher taxes on motorists, higher taxes on higher housing construction, higher student debts, higher power bills and more expensive training courses because you wanted to abolish free TAFE. So we're very happy to have a tax argument with you,
Minister
Senator
Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Hume, you will withdraw that. Thank you. Please continue, Minister Wong.
I'm always happy to have an argument with Senator Hume about taxes because she is Senator Hume of higher taxes, Senator Hume of the higher tax.
Minister Wong, please. Senator Hume, I just asked you to withdraw, and I'm going to ask you again. And I'm warning you, don't do it again. Minister Wong, please continue.
I'm just making the point that I know that Senator Hume thinks that pointing at me and yelling at me is going to make us all forget that she went to the last election advocating for higher taxes for working people, higher taxes for all Australians, higher personal income tax, more taxes on resources and manufacturing, more taxes, higher taxes on motorists, higher taxes on housing construction. This was the economic policy platform that they took to the last election, and they rewarded her by making her the deputy leader of the Liberal Party. Goodness me. And now, under the leadership of Senator Hume and Mr Taylor, if you can call it that, they're going to vote against tax cuts again.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Senator Canavan, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. To the extent the government has an economic plan, its plan seems to amount to increasing taxes now on small businesses via the changes to trusts, on investments via higher capital gains taxes, on property by changes to negative gearing arrangements, and now people's savings too by taxing superannuation. Why is the government attacking people's superannuation and therefore people's retirement plans that they've worked hard for?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Wong.
Well, simply we're not, Senator. We are dealing with a specific issue, which is the ability to borrow. It is a very small number of Australians who engage in borrowing against their super fund, and existing arrangements will be protected. And I make the point, Senator, that this policy was the subject of consideration by Mr Murray and the Council of Financial Regulators. But more broadly, Senator, the package that will be passed in the Senate tomorrow is pro-aspiration, it is pro-worker, it is pro-investment. It applies the same rule across all assets class, which keeps the system simpler and fairer, and will include tax cuts for every Australian taxpayer, both this year and next, through the Working Australian Tax Offset and the instant tax deduction. And now you have the opportunity tomorrow to vote for tax cuts. You have the opportunity to vote for tax cuts as part of this.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Canavan, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Minister, will the government rule out doing a deal with the Greens to introduce a death tax?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Wong. Order. Order. Order across the chamber. Order. Order. Minister Watt. Order. Minister Wong.
Well, Senator, you know that there is no intention, no way in which that would occur. And I would say this to you: it says something, doesn't it? It says something, doesn't it, that the best they can do with a tax package is not in front of the Senate, is not to argue about the tax package in front of the Senate, but to make up some other tax arrangements to run a scare campaign on. I mean, that is all you have left, Senator Canavan. That is all you lot have left. Baseless scare campaigns, because you don't know what you stand for and you don't know who you represent. When the coalition has voted five times against tax cuts through the life of the Albanese Labor government and is now gearing up to vote against tax cuts again, I think Australians know that you do not know who you represent, and all you have left is baseless scare campaigns, and the pundits can see through.
I advise the chamber that Senator Payman has passed her question to Senator David Pocock. Thank you, Senator Pocock.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Minister Gallagher. Minister, why is it the government is seeking in the tax reform legislation before the Parliament to remove people's access to grandfathering if there's a change in ownership of a jointly held asset transfer that is simply due to death or divorce? Why does that count as a transfer in ownership?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Pocock for the question. And as Senator Pocock knows, we are making these changes to make the system overall fairer and simpler, and to better align the tax.
Senator Colbeck.
To better align the tax paid on assets with the tax paid on income, to make it fairer. That is the overarching aim of that element of the. Yeah, I'll get to it, Senator Cash. Thank you. I don't need your help. I have 1 minute.
Just focus on your own crumbling party.
Order.
Focus on your own crumbling party.
The arrangements in relation, the grandfathering arrangements in relation to shared ownership, this is consistent with the existing arrangements in the tax system around the acquisition of assets, and wherever possible we've aligned the arrangements in the core legislation with the existing system so that new laws operate effectively and consistently with established administration of the tax system. The grandfathering rules we have put in place are reasonable arrangements that mean what you owned at budget night can continue to be negatively geared in the future, but anything bought, sold or acquired after that date is treated under the new rules. There are often, and as we'll know and when we'll get through the committee, complex interactions and details which, as we've said, we'll work through in the usual way.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, but surely if the Parliament is going to grandfather these arrangements, we should just grandfather them properly. And I don't see how it's fairer and simpler when just because your spouse dies or you get divorced, you lose those benefits. Isn't it a bit disingenuous to say that it is consistent when under the current arrangements you continue to get the 50% CGT discount, but going forward you won't should your spouse die?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Gallagher.
Well, I'll see if there's anything further I can add to my earlier answer. But and I accept that there are complex interactions as we, in any changes to tax arrangements. What we have tried to do with the drafting of this legislation is make it as consistent as we can with the existing system, and all of the different ways that various tax laws interact with each other, but I'm not sure there's anything else I can add. We have sought to protect arrangements, the grandfathering arrangements, to make sure that people are not penalised or for the arrangements and the investments they made under the earlier system, and there are extensive grandfathering arrangements that have been put in place that some have criticised us for being too generous to make sure that people aren't disadvantaged by the reforms going forward.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, does the government concede that if this isn't amended, it will be women who are disadvantaged the most, given women have 20% less super on retirement and outlive us men?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. What I would say about the issues that women raise with me are really around concerns about getting older and retiring, is that they don't have enough super, they haven't earned enough income during their working life, they weren't compensated for the periods of time that they were in and out of the workforce. These are the issues that are raised with me overwhelmingly, and violence against women and health provision for women and housing provision for women. They are the overwhelming issues that are raised with me. When we look at tax reform, and the Women's Budget Statement provides commentary on the entire package of our tax reform measures and their impact on women, and overall we have sought to address issues of gender through the tax arrangements and the reforms that we've put in place.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Mulholland.
My question is to the Minister for Indigenous Australians, Senator McCarthy. Remote communities across Northern Australia have faced significant challenges following cyclones and flooding events. These disasters have had a devastating impact on local economies and communities. Can the minister outline how the Albanese Labor government is supporting recovery efforts in affected communities by delivering programs that create employment opportunities and help to strengthen local economies?
Thank you, Senator Mulholland. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Mulholland, for the question. And I'll be watching the next State of Origin game too, I think, from Queensland. Your great state, look. You're absolutely right.
She's a sensible person.
Our remote communities remain particularly vulnerable to natural disasters, and their recoveries can take longer. Last week, President, I was welcomed onto beautiful eastern Googiyallanji country at Wujal Wujal in Senator Mulholland's state of Queensland. President, as they say, it's a place so nice, they say the name twice. Wujal Wujal. I was privileged to receive a water blessing from Auntie Kathleen at the foot of the spiritual waters of Wujal Wujal Falls. And the scars of Cyclone Jasper have left deep physical marks on this community, but the impact is not just physical. Elders speak of the fear they feel when they hear heavy rain, remembering the devastation they endured and the challenge of rebuilding their community. But the Albanese Labor government is there to support them and to back their aspirations, and that includes with jobs, jobs, jobs. We are delivering 6,000 jobs in remote communities, providing the dignity of work with proper pay, sick leave, annual leave and superannuation. And that includes in the community of Wujal Wujal. I visited the nursery and market garden where local RGED workers are already benefiting from these opportunities. And one of those workers, Topsy, said to me, "I love gardening. I always go home at the end of the day with a smile on my face, telling my family what I've done." The Albanese Labor government is strengthening our remote communities by providing the dignity of work. And, President, Wujal Wujal is just one of many examples of this success of the program.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Mulholland, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. Cost of living pressures continue to affect families across Australia, and these challenges can be even greater in remote communities where food and essential goods often cost significantly more. Can the minister outline how the Albanese Labor government is helping to ease cost of living pressures for families in remote communities?
Thank you, Senator Mulholland. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, mayors from across the country are in Canberra this week, Alistair Gibson from Wudjil, Bruce Gibson from Hopevale, James Woods from West Arnhem, Elsie Seriat from Torres Shire Council and Richard Suter from Mornington Shire. There is one thing their communities all have in common, President, and that is support from the Albanese Labor government through our low-cost essentials subsidy scheme, which is helping to ease cost of living pressures. I'm proud to announce to the Senate that we now have 120 stores right across Australia signed up to the scheme. 120 stores and more to come. We have slashed the cost of 30 essential items in remote communities, meaning those items cost the same as they would in a city. This is about fairness and it is about delivering.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Mulholland, second supplementary.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians continue to experience disparities in health, housing, education and employment outcomes. Can the minister outline how the Albanese Labor government is delivering meaningful investments to address these challenges and how this approach differs from those who continue to call for cuts to programs that support First Nations communities?
Thank you, Senator Mulholland. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, there they are, President. The coalition of chaos.
That's right.
They're the coalition of cuts. Come on, I woke you up. I woke you up. Come on. Senator Nampijinpa Price has been penning op-eds and sending out fundraising emails criticising our jobs agenda while providing absolutely no policy solutions of your own. And Senator Hanson has been declaring her desire for a monoculture.
Are you a Liberal or a National or a One
Nation?
Nation?
So One Nation is leading this coalition, which is now committed to the abolition of all Indigenous programs.
Are you off to One Nation?
The opposition has no plan apart from cuddling up to One Nation. They only believe in the negative, nasty politics of chaos and cuts and in punching down on First Nations.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Kovacic. Order. Order. Minister Watt, I have called Senator Kovacic.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. CPA Australia has warned that Labor's capital gains tax changes could capture inherited assets and important family heirlooms, including what is described as Grandma's jewellery box. Can the Minister guarantee that Australians will not be forced to obtain valuations for important family keepsakes, such as inherited jewellery, wedding rings of departed loved ones, watches and artwork before the 1st of July 2027?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
Well, what I have said a number of times in this place, and that the budget announced, was changes to the capital gains tax arrangements that apply the same rule across all assets to ensure that the system is simpler and fairer, and the system that is being applied is a system of real gains. Now, what I would say to the senator, Senator Cash, everything is an outrage, isn't it? But what is not an outrage to you is the spinelessness of your leader when he is asked 7 times about whether or not he supports Miss Hanson's monoculture, and he is not able to answer. He's not able to answer. And I have to say that stands in stark contrast to the courage that is shown at least by Mr Hastie, who says he will not bend a knee to them, and, if I may, Senator Scarr, who gave a very decent contribution in this chamber in support of multiculturalism, and I am wondering where the rest of the moderate wing of the Liberal Party are when it comes to this, and their leaders' silence on this.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Order. 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 Senator Duniam.
President, a point of order on relevance. The question had nothing to do with anything that's being spoken about, so I wonder if the minister might return to the question.
Just a moment, Senator Kovacic. Are you also on a point of order?
I'd like to point out the reflection that Senator Wong has made on individuals on this side of the chamber who have spoken strongly in favour of multiculturalism. And I would ask that she withdraw it.
Senator Kovacic, I did not hear any offence, and an offence is committed when Senator Kovacic, I haven't finished. An offence is committed not by commenting on what someone may have said in this place, but by slurring using their name. I didn't hear that, and I will continue to listen carefully. I did not hear that. In relation to Senator Duniam's point of order, I am happy to draw the minister back to the question, but I will also remind you not to interject, because if you interject, the minister is entitled to take the interjection. So I'm going to continue to listen carefully. If there's silence and the minister is not directly relevant to the question, I will draw her to the question, but that means no interjections. Minister Wong.
Order?
Yep.
On the point of order, I'm very happy to withdraw Senator Kovacic, and I will always recognise those on your side who do stand up for multiculturalism.
Minister Wong, did you wish to continue?
Thank
with
you.
your answer?
As I was saying, what the government is doing is replacing the 50% capital gains tax discount with a new discount that is based on inflation, with for gains accruing from the 1st of July 2027. That will apply across all asset classes, and that is part of a package which also will involve working Australians getting getting a tax cut. Senator Hume, you just interrupt all the time because you don't want people to know that you were the one who was for higher taxes at the last election. You were the one who was higher taxes at the last election, and you are leading them into another vote against tax cuts. So they keep following you into the trenches, don't they?
Thank you, Senator Wong. Senator Wong. Thank you. The time for answering has expired. Senator Hume, I have called you many times this afternoon. I would appreciate silence in the remainder time we've got for question time. Senator Kovacic, first supplementary.
Minister, I note your comments about these taxes being simpler and fairer. Given that, who will be required to pay for these valuables? Or who will be required to pay for the valuations of these family valuables?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
Senator, we are changing the discount available. That is what we are changing, and we are also making sure it applies across all asset classes. I can't be any clearer than that. What I would say to you, Senator, is that this is part of a set of tax changes, both on capital gains and negative gearing, and also income tax, which do represent one of the largest changes to Australia's tax arrangements in a generation. They will ensure that income from assets is taxed in a way that is analogous to income from work.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Cash.
Direct relevance, President. It was actually a very simple question. The minister's admitted assets will need to be valued. It is a simple question. Who needs to pay for the valuation?
Thank you, Senator Cash. The minister is being relevant to the question, and I am listening carefully, and I appreciate that the interjections have stopped. So I also thank you all for that. Minister Wong, please continue.
Again, that the change that is being applied is in relation to the discount on capital gains tax. That change has been put forward for many reasons, one of which is that it ensures that asset gains are more equitably and fairly and consistently taxed. The package also ensures that income from assets—
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Kovacic, second supplementary.
Minister, isn't this exactly what Australians fear from Labor and the Greens? A tax that reaches into family inheritances, a quasi-death tax, people to put a price tag on the wedding rings and family heirlooms, leaving ordinary Australians paying accountants and valuers just to deal with property that has been in their family for decades?
Order. Order. Minister Wong.
Well, I have a fair degree of respect for Senator Kovacic, so I will try and respond in a respectful way, because I think that was not a question you should have been given, because it is a demonstration. It is a demonstration. It is a demonstration of the fact that those opposite have no capacity to engage on the basis of the tax policy, so they have to. May I finish?
Order. Senator Cash. Senator Cash. Senator Cash, come to order. Minister Wong.
Those on that side, those opposite, have no capacity to actually engage with the debate on tax, so they have to make up a scare campaign on taxes which do not exist. But most importantly, and I again say this to the coalition senators, you are about to vote for higher taxes. Be very, very clear that Senator Hume and Senator Cash, under Mr Taylor's leadership, are going to make you vote for higher taxes for working Australians.
The time for answering has expired. I'm waiting for silence. Order. Senator Brown.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. At a time when global energy markets are under pressure, Australian wind, solar and batteries, backed by gas, make Australia stronger and more secure. That's why the Albanese Labor government is helping more Australian households purchase a home battery. Minister, how has this policy helped Australian households to weather these global energy shocks?
Thank you, Senator Brown. Minister Ayres.
Well, thank you, Senator Brown, for that question. Of course, you're right. With the war in the Middle East, global energy markets are indeed once again under some pressure. And that underscores the importance of the work that this government, and in particular Minister Bowen, has been leading over the course of this year. In all aspects of our energy system, none more important than building a new, modern, Australian reliable electricity grid. Australian wind, solar, batteries and gas. Vladimir Putin in Ukraine can't stop the wind blowing in Australia. The Iranians may be able to block the Strait of Hormuz, but they cannot stop the Australian sun shining on the roofs of Australian households. Securing Australian energy to drive down prices for Australians. Now, just one of these programs, the Cheaper Home Battery program, has made an outsized impact for businesses and for households. I mean, it's the old outrage meter over here. It's a complete mystery, really. I don't want to divert myself off my own topic, but when everything comes along and you get so angry, but you get smaller, and they get so angry and they get bigger. What's going on? It's this mystery of political thermodynamics that just keeps happening to you. Is it physics? Is it chemistry or biology? You don't know, but you keep doing it. You keep doing it, you get angrier and angrier and angrier, and you get smaller and smaller and smaller. What is going on over there to the once great Liberal and National parties?
Order. 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 Senator Brown, first supplementary.
It was good. It was good.
Order. Senator Brown is Minister Watt and Senator Henderson. Order. I'd called Senator Brown and she was on her feet. Senator Brown.
Thank you, Minister, for that very interesting answer, and I'm sure everyone here in the chamber found it extremely informative. Supplementary, President. Today, the government's capacity investment scheme has announced 15 new successful energy storage projects, with big batteries to be built in New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria and South Australia. How will these new projects—
Senator Brown, time has expired. Minister Ayres.
I'm anticipating that I know how that question would have concluded. This is a very important program, and of course I'm very, as you all know, very easily distracted. And it's important to point out that this program, alongside the Cheaper Home Batteries program, which has provided for 450,000 cheaper home batteries, 12 gigawatts of capacity. In terms of the amount of batteries installed in the world, we are behind only the United States and China. Here in Australia, making household bills go down for the houses that install them, and putting downward pressure on prices across the grid. And of course, 15 more large-scale successful energy storage projects announced today through the Capacity Investment Scheme, $6 billion in private investment.
Senator Brown, second supplementary.
Yes, President, and great anticipation, Minister. The Albanese Labor government is securing Australia's future by building a modern Australian energy system. What are the risks to Australia's future energy security by turning back the policy clock on renewables?
Thank you, Senator Brown. Minister Ayres.
Well, there are so many risks over there. As the right-wing parties sort of merge, not dual ticket holders, triple ticket holders now, as they merge, they can agree about very little of real substance for Australians. They can agree they want to make workers poorer. They can agree they want to cut back social services, and they can agree that they want to wreck electricity investment in Australia. The current leader of the opposition, Mr Taylor, who told Sky News this morning that he stemmed the decline, apparently. He stemmed the decline in the Liberal primary vote. Well, you know, put a pencil next to that one and we'll see how we're looking in 6 weeks' time. Put a pencil next to that and see how it's going. But no person has done more to wreck electricity investment in Australia than Mr Taylor. No person,
thank you, Minister.
no
the
person
time
has done
for
more.
Answering has expired. Minister Wong.
I ask that further questions be placed on notice.